started, because I don't want to waste your time, and I think that your time is very valuable, very valuable. So, thank you everyone for coming, and for the new folks as well, and some old returners. And we haven't seen them in a while too. So, today we're going to be talking about crucial conversations. I really want to open this up for dialogue as well, just like a group discussion. There's going to be a lot of things. This can go really, really deep. This conversation can go very deep, and it could just go on for a long time. So if there's stuff that we just kind of keep like rolling around in, I'll kind of just, move us to the next topic. But the idea is just to get a framework of understanding what are crucial conversations, how to work with them, and just little steps that you can use, little ideas and little things that you can start to think about in these kinds of conversations. So when I say crucial conversations, what is it that kind of makes sense? What is it, the idea that comes up in your head when I say this? What is crucial conversations for you?
Deep conversation.
Yeah.
Sensitive topics.
Yeah.
Vulnerable topics.
I love it's like high stakes, the way that I like to put it, because a lot of the times it could be even just needing to tell someone that they're being annoying or like rude to you, if it's in a relationship, if it's it's
No need for conversation. Modern language does it all.
Yeah, that's right. And so this is the idea of crucial conversations. They're really high stakes, and a lot of the times it could be even with your boss and you, where your boss tells you that you're coming in late all the time. How do they handle these kind of conversations? Or they need to fire someone as well. These are like high stakes. It's where there's a lot of emotionally charged situations and feelings. And so the idea is we want to become safe, and there's a pooled share of knowledge. And we'll dive into what this stuff means. But right now, what I really want to look at is just to kind of open up this room for what the frame is. And a lot of the times when we look at crucial conversations, people are paying attention to what they are moving, like their facial gestures, some body language, right? As we were just talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do a small little activity, and it's just nonverbal communication. So what I'm going to have you guys do is, so we're going to have like two people come up and just like sit here, and the entire group is going to just kind of watch this one person. And so I'm going to give this one person kind of like a thing to use their body with. So for example, I'll give you like this. Maybe you can say with your body, I'm frustrated. Maybe you can say with your body, I'm worried. Or maybe you can say with your body, I'm angry, right? So this person is going to act this out with their body language. And then this person is just going to watch just for like 2 minutes. And as we see this go on, the group is just going to be aware, not going to say anything, just kind of like pay attention. We're going to ask this person to see if they can answer this first. If they got it right, good. Then the group we'll discuss about that. If not, then I want the group's opinion. Okay? And so I'm going to have one person and one person. Who wants to be the first? Okay.
We'll look at the new ones.
The new ones.
Like the new ones.
Yeah, not new ones. Want to go? Why not? You're a smart boy.
Enthusiasm.
Smart guy.
Your hair is long now.
Yeah, it's getting long. It's getting quite long. So, who wants to be the guesser and who wants to be the actor? Yeah, you two.
Sure. Oh.
Paper, scissors?
Yeah, that's
What
what
you
I'm
gonna say?
saying. Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Like 1, 2, 3.
Okay. But winner gets what?
You choose.
The winner gets to choose what they want.
Okay. You're gonna get
Oh.
what they want.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'll do whatever.
1, 2, 3.
I'll
So you do it.
do acting.
Acting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're the guesser. So soon, I'm gonna give you one that, simple like this. Well, I need to, okay. You know what?
Mhm.
This is gonna be the one for you.
Okay.
Yeah?
Mhm. So,
Begin.
out of nowhere.
yeah, out of nowhere. Just, I mean, like, pretend you're already in the middle of a conversation.
Okay.
And, like, you maybe it doesn't, you can kind of choose whatever situation it is,
Okay.
but we're just trying to pay attention to the non-verbal cues.
Mhm.
Did you guess?
If you already have it, then
Was that annoyed? After the know that.
Are you able to see his face? Probably not. And you, Jay? Okay.
Doesn't agree.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about something else. Even distracted.
What is the group think here?
I send doubt.
Doubt.
Yeah.
That's along the lines.
Kind of, yeah.
Anything?
Disagreeing.
Yeah, that was it.
Yay.
Disagreeing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Good job.
Okay.
Now we'll do it for you, okay? And now you're gonna act.
Okay.
You're gonna try to.
No, she's gonna ask them.
Yeah. Right. That's right. Let's see. Okay. How about this one? You see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bored? Tired? Oh.
Yeah.
I got it?
Like, how would you do it if you were like tired of the conversation? Not necessarily,
I mean, that was...
because that was what it was. But you were just doing it like, oh, I'm tired. Like, I'm
Right.
physically tired, right?
Yeah.
How would you do it if you're just tired of the conversation? What would that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, that was... Excellent.
Yeah.
Boredom.
That
It's
big
like-
A little
exhale.
bit more annoyed, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, wanna leave this room.
I want to
Thing.
leave.
Yeah.
Just like that,
Like
you know,
the-
like that big, you know, you can just tell.
Mm. Mm.
Amazing, thanks
Yeah.
guys. Anyone else? I would like to see maybe some new folks try this. Just one or two more.
I mean, it's not like I've done this before, so.
Okay, I'll do.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a try.
Amazing. Okay.
All right, you want to go first with acting or guessing?
I can act.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, let's see if you can do this one. Like, remember, it's the frame of a conversation. How would you look at that when someone's talking like that or feeling like inside? Yeah, she's going.
Yeah, some frustration here. Certainly annoyed. Something along those lines. Yeah, maybe preoccupied or something, but
I'll give you like a few more guesses. Let's see if you can go.
okay, yeah. There's certainly some deep thought then. So, yeah, she seems to be occupied or something.
So
It's like if I were to talk to you and you act like that, I think, oh, she's not interested in conversation.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Anything from the group? Any labels that can come up for you right now for what?
I don't care.
Along those lines, something of the sort. So what it was I'm worried.
Mm.
Did that give off that? So when she was acting like that?
I can see it now, but at
Right.
the time, that did not exactly cross my mind.
And how does that even make sense in a conversation, right? If someone says like, I'm worried. This is the dynamic that we're going to get into later, right? Because
Yes.
when we're talking about this, it has to do with safety within. Hi.
Hi, I'm very late.
You can come in. Yeah.
Is there maybe bathroom in here?
Bathroom is right here.
In the bike.
So yeah, basically when we're talking about worrisomeness, we're talking about this in the idea of, is this conversation safe? And when there's safety in a conversation, that means that the other person has the other person's best interests, right? The person that you're talking to, you know that they have your interests at heart. They're your best interests, right? That's what it means to have safety. So when there isn't safety, it's like, I'm worried that you're trying to get something out of me, or I'm worried that you're trying to take something from me, or I don't feel fully safe in this conversation. Like I'm worried that you're trying to attack me, right? Did that kind of act out in that way? It's not easy to tell this one, I think.
I agree.
I'm not sure if I was acting exactly like that, but it felt like uncomfortable. I tried to show this uncomfort, you know.
Yeah,
like
that was
kind of-
certainly there. Yeah.
It was perfect. That was right. I know exactly how it looked. So this is a good idea too, because this is what you want to pay attention to, right? We don't want to understand just the content of what's going on in these conversations. This is like one thing that I want to kind of portray for the moment. When we look at conversations, it's either the content or the environment. Or I would say conditions. And we'll dive into this in a second. So let's do one more.
Okay.
Let's see here. I'm going to say, okay, how about this? This should be easy.
Okay.
Confusion.
That was it.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything.
Want to do it again for us?
Like, yeah.
That was great. Wow, you got that so quick.
Hey, maybe it's me being a fucking
yes.
Right? So that's like,
Yeah.
what do you think about confusion inside of a conversation? It's probably one of the most unfortunate things, you know?
Is it?
Because, I mean, it's not where you want to be. We want to have this pool of shared knowledge. Okay?
Yes.
So, you guys can go back to your seats. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And welcome to
Hi, hello.
So, the topic for today is crucial conversations, right? I'm pretty sure you would have known that. But yeah, so that just was a quick little demonstration of what it is looking like on a person's body, their face, you know, what are they doing with their hands, their body, their gestures, to actually tell them they're feeling some sort of way. We're always doing this, no matter what. There's some people that will have very subtle cues, but oh, sure. Yeah. Sure, no problem. There are some situations where it's really hard to tell because you're so involved in this content, like the actual storyline of what the actual conversation is. And when we look at these crucial conversations, a lot of the times they're really hard to have because of the content, right? It's like, okay, I want to tell you that your breath smells. How do I do that? Right? How do I tell someone that their breath smells? Or how do I tell someone that they're just not making me happy? You know, they're doing something annoying. They're doing something that's bugging me. They're doing something that I don't like. Maybe it's a trigger that's going on inside of me. It's not necessarily their fault, but it's the trigger that's going on. So we have to understand what is going on within us, but then how to also respond to when things happen like this, and what is the actual frame? How do we dive into this conversation? And I think that one of the most hardest things that I've had to do within Crucial Conversations is breaking up with someone. Yeah, that's like one of the difficult things for me. Yeah, oh, your face. It's really hard because, like, I mean, for me, it's like, how do I start that conversation? What is your experience with these kind of crucial conversations? Anyone have any of these? I would love to hear some stories of how this played out. Yeah, you're smiling like you have something. Yeah, I would love to hear it if you got something.
How did it start? Oh, it's not good to hear. I remember she definitely ended up coming with that. I think it was something like, hey, I think we should call like this account or things like that.
Oh, so that was the
Like
thing.
direct.
I think we should talk.
Yeah, something like that. And then we went outside. I don't remember it was long ago. I don't remember specific. I remember the feelings of it. Yeah, I remember the feelings.
Not the actual stuff we was talking about.
Not the word. You know?
Yeah, the content of this. Yeah. But what was the goal?
Oh, breakup.
Yeah. Okay. And was that goal understood in the conversation?
Yeah.
As soon as it started?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Did it get heated at all?
No.
No. How did it?
I mean, not like in a aggressive way.
Yeah. But it was just emotional.
Yeah.
Right. Just like, oh, like, what did I do or something? Yeah. What do you think is the hardest part about, is it for you also starting the conversation, or is it bringing up some sort of thing that you don't, like, you just like, maybe it's saying I need to get out of this for something that you did, or maybe it's I need to get out of this because I don't agree with something that you are, or maybe it's because of me, right? Have you said any of those types of things? What was the actual thing that you were saying to get out of the relationship?
It was, I think, something along the lines of like our future and our goals and like what we want to do in life was so different.
Yeah.
And then, like our perspective on it.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah. I love that. That's like really mature as well to like dive into the conversation with, right? It's like, hey, like, you know, I just don't agree with both of our paths. It's just they don't really kind of come together in my eyes, right? I mean, it's very. How did the other person respond?
Not well. No, I mean, not well in a just emotional. She cried a bunch and she kind of got over it. She was like, yeah, I kind of expected it, whatever. And then we moved on.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have any? Thank you for sharing. What's up, MJ?
What did I miss?
Anyone else have any other conversations that they've had in their life that was really trouble? Maybe it was with a boss or some sort of other coworker. Some heated conversation with a coworker before. I've had those before, especially in serving industry. You got something?
Yeah. One time I had a coworker and she was always pushing a lot of work onto me.
Oh yeah.
And so when I mentioned this, like, hey, you're really, you know, like putting a lot of your work on my table here, which somewhat, okay, like we share the responsibility, but when I tried to bring it up, she responded something like, that's not my problem or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
So it was like, okay, this is just a toxic environment, and I just like, that's kind of my way of handling with things.
Yeah. I totally get that. I mean, that's a good thing to see is like, you know, it's not when someone says that direct, that is pretty intense. Oh, it's not my problem.
I'm sure she already didn't like me, but you know.
Oh wow. So she was she just like that type of person who just didn't like anyone in the office or like where in the workspace?
Well, still I'm fine with the other local workers.
Yeah.
It's not with the foreigners, maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So did you approach the conversation, or like, so was it just a bunch of times that this went on of like, hey, like you need to do this. I want you
Right,
to do
yeah.
this.
So like I fixed time, of course, and then I couldn't finish all the tasks in that a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like it's because you're pushing too much on me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, that's your problem then. And not my problem. It's like, no, we do need to share these responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like, okay.
So did it happen just like in the moment?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would looking back, would you have wanted to take her aside and say like, hey, like let's talk about this?
In hindsight, I would have done that.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Would it?
Because I was in the moment, I was also very frustrated.
Right.
So maybe how I brought it was also aggressive or maybe a little bit over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how I was in that moment myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I did feel like her reaction was just, very abrasive and uncaring and such.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if someone says like, "Oh, it's not my problem."
Yeah.
I think that's like, I've also had to deal with that in conversations before.
Yeah.
But just, has anyone heard that statement be told to them before? It's not my problem. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's not my job. Yeah.
Or that.
That is also one as well that I've heard. It's a hard thing to deal with.
Hmm.
This is not towards the goal of where we want to head for this conversation. So the goals for the conversation that we go into is trying to achieve some mutual agreement, right? And this is having to do with the content. So we want to pay attention to, like I was talking about before, the content and then the conditions as well. And when we look at them, it's mostly understanding that this, like the content is trying to make sure that it's not just, hey, like you're doing this wrong, or it's like not like pointing, not saying that you're doing this wrong or this wrong. A lot of the times I haven't done that, right? But it seems like that's like just the feelings that are there to want to just, hey, you know, there's this thing that I don't like what you're doing. Maybe there's a situation where I need to look at how I'm also acting towards them. And so when we're talking about these ideas, because the conditions are like how people are looking at this from the outside the view. What are the actual statements or the body figure? Okay, so I'm looking at your, you know, posture. I'm looking at your gesture. How does this look in the outside perspective? And now we really, really are trying to be really, I would say, focused on just not having these conversations drive off into the wrong way. And now it's just an argument of like, okay, why are we even talking about this in the first place? You brought this up and then you brought this up. And it just like has nothing to do with the actual conversation of what we're talking about. And this could not be beneficial because, you know, maybe in this conversation, all of a sudden you're saying, oh, you didn't do this last week. You know, you put this on me last week. And so these are in some cases beneficial for the actual conversation, because what we have to do is we have to state the facts. And this is one of the key frames that we're going to talk about. This is like one of the tools that you can use. It's called state. And that's the first, is just stating the facts. And the idea about stating the facts is to do it in a very open way, not just like aggressive, right? Not saying like, why aren't you showing up to work on time? This is a very bold and direct. It can be harsh in these kinds of conversations. A good idea. So if we were to look at the example that I have here. So again, with someone that's late, right? We're going to talk about not saying you're always late, but we're going to say it as like you've missed 4 deadlines in the past 2 weeks. How does this look different in these kinds of phrases, in these sentences? Where's the difference in these? Can you notice at all?
Can you say them again?
So you're always late, or you've missed 4 deadlines this past week.
The first one is a generalization.
Yes.
And the second one is different. It's the same.
Mm-hmm. There we go. So one thing inside of this, right? the two things that can happen, and this is where we don't want to go when we are not safe inside of a conversation, is silence or violence. Okay, I'm not talking about where you're actually going to go up and hit someone, but this, what you just said, generalizing, that is a form of violence. Labeling. Right? That's where we don't want to get to. It's like generalizing, overstating, and saying like, this is what you always do. This is a form of violence. Silence is where you're hiding some specific key elements that are inside of this, your experience that you've had associated with this relationship that need to be said, that they need to understand. So I want to look at when we're talking about managing these conversations, because this is definitely a way to just like make sure that you don't go into silence or violence. Sorry, I was thinking of something and then I lost it. There's monitoring the conversations. There's okay. So one big thing when we're looking at conversations is that these emotions that show up, they're not caused by other people. Other people. It's
your perception.
Yes. I love that you said that. It's very, very true. Because when we look at perception, it has to do with senses, right? Like the things that are going on within our eyes, ears, mouth, nose, see, hear, taste, touch, right? All these things. And when we all have our own perceptions, we can say we either like something or we don't like something. And this happens like automatically within our system.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. When we realize that, because this is something that, we all have within us, this is a like or a dislike, I want this or I don't want this. And this will give your perception, this will give your understanding of how you feel about a certain situation. And just because you did something doesn't mean that it's actually a bad thing. In my eyes, it could be a bad thing. In your eyes, it could be a good thing. We could go around the room and it could be opposite. So how do you think would be a good idea to start to take a step back and realize, okay, where is the truth in this? Right? That's where we want to get to. It's like, okay, how can I see where's the actual reality of this situation that we're looking at? What's the reality of my feelings? And what's the reality of this person that they're talking to me about? What is the truth of their statement? So I want to step away from the actual content. I don't want to tell them, hey, this is something bad that you're doing. I want to step away. Oh, yeah.
Rationalization and self-reflection.
Yeah. Self-reflection is huge, for sure. So when we're looking at this too, we want to determine what's the actual purpose. Okay, so I was talking about this before. It's like, what's the goal? Or the purpose of this conversation? I'm not spelling that right. Sometimes, I did not spell that right yet. So, inside of these conversations, a lot of the times the other person doesn't know what's going to happen either. So how do you approach the beginning of the conversation to make sure that they don't feel attacked right as we get into this conversation? Yes, exactly. I love stating that as well, because then it's not like, hey, you're making me feel this way. Yes, right. Has anyone experienced both of these contrasts before? Have you experienced that? Where you've experienced someone or yourself say you're doing this, and then you've also experienced, I feel like this. Do you know the difference of how that even feels inside of the conversation?
I think it gives this when you say I feel like that, then another person gets interested. Like, okay, what happened is why I feel. But when you attack, it's immediately the other person goes into protection, like no, or you misunderstood, or it just gets into that fight almost instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Because one is attacking, another is protecting.
Right. It turns either into silence or violence as soon as someone feels attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest, again, we needed, like, safety is the biggest key. The way that someone feels safe. So, is again through someone who you know that their interests are also your interests. Like, okay, so you and I both know that you have my best interests inside of this conversation. So I'm not going to feel like I'm attacked. But have you felt like when maybe there's a situation in your life where you had some really hard criticism that was given to you, but it actually, you didn't take it as an attack because this person, you either respected their opinion or because they actually had your best interests at heart? Have you felt like that before?
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you didn't have these two features and someone gave you some criticism, or maybe it's because what we're talking about with Crucial Conversations is how to give constructive criticism, right? That's the whole idea of what this is about. So when someone did give you constructive criticism, but you knew that their interests, I mean, it's just, a little thing that you don't really pay attention to, but it's just like, how do I trust this person? Am I safe in this relationship? That I know they're not going to backstab me or try to hurt me again or try to, they're a person that talks behind my back. These kinds of things. So you do know what that's like. And I'm going to write these down again. Okay, so best interest. And then the respected opinion. That's how you know you have safety. So then the question becomes, okay, where do I get that safety? How do I make sure that their interests are also my interests? The second one, the respected opinion, that typically comes from someone that is, maybe it's a person, maybe your boss has always been really, really nice to you, treated you well, given you raises, given you promotions, treated you to a dinner, then this person becomes someone that's a respected opinion. They have a strong influence on you. They're really inspiring, right? This is a thing that maybe can happen when you are around them a lot. But then there's situations where how do you create the best interest? So this one is happening through a long conversation, but or like a long relationship, I mean. And then this one, the best interest, this is how you create the pooled share meeting. So I'm going to write this down. And maybe you guys can understand this in the way that we talk about this. And then, as we were just talking about, right? So when we talk about the pooled share meeting, when we state how we feel, that's going in here. When the other person states how they feel, that's going in here. When we state the facts, that's going in here, right? Again, the facts of you're showing up to work late. You did this. You actually did this action, right? But it's, again, framing it in a way that's not attacking them. And we'll actually dive into some specific examples of how we can kind of role play this. But that also goes into these pool of shared knowledge. What do you think else would go into the pooled share of knowledge? What else would go into it? Do you guys understand what do you need me to explain it more?
Right now?
Huh?
The 3 points order?
Oh.
Sure.
So how you feel. How they feel. The facts of the conversation, right? What else would go in here? I want to open up this. I don't want to be talking the whole time.
I'm gonna say goals, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Actually, it's already right here. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I would even say tone of voice.
Tone of voice. Yeah. That always is varied, right? That can be changed by the dynamic of the conversation. But I mean, it's like what I would say is more or less the body gestures,
Oh, yeah.
right? The language, yeah, the body language. So we'll say nonverbals.
Time constraint.
The time constraint? Yeah, that's a variable that can go in here. Say we only have a certain amount of time to have this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because there has to be a decision made or you're going off to do something. It's very true, right? That actually gives a little bit of pressure to the situation. So sometimes it doesn't go off on this long tangent of things that are just all over the place, right? Because we want to make these really constructive and to the point, but also being respectful, right? Anything else?
Could you put there like what is the relationship between the people,
Mm-hmm. What's it like the dynamic of the relationship?
or if like it's a friends or coworkers or boyfriend or mother and like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then also what's at stake?
Hmm.
Because that relationship could be at stake as well, right? Because that maybe it's your boss and you. Maybe because of this conversation could be given, hey, like this could be where we don't go and you get fired. We don't go the right way and you get fired.
Your whole life is like okay.
So that could be a situation.
Sorry, I have to work.
We're good. Thanks for coming. What did I just say? The state. What kind of state? So this is just a small little idea of what the pool of shared knowledge is. And it's very, very helpful to communicate these things. So why is it so hard to communicate these things?
Because nobody ever taught us when we are young.
Yeah. So very true. I mean, if you want to state the facts, yeah, sure. Yeah, no one in the school education didn't teach you. Hey, this is how you tell someone you hate them.
Yeah.
You have to learn this. You have to go to this class. But that's so valuable too. I mean, it's not like you need to tell someone all the time you hate them. But there's different feelings that go on within these relationships, different dynamics that we need to express. But okay, besides, obviously we didn't learn in these.
The safety isn't there.
Huh?
Safe. Well, the people don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say people are thin-skinned these days. So make it difficult to.
I would say so too.
Yeah.
Does that have to do with safety?
Yeah. I think that relates.
Mm-hmm. Because like when we're talking about thin, when someone's thin-skinned, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They feel attacked, right? Because why would someone ever feel attacked?
Well, the way you speak to them.
Right. Because your interests are not. They think that you don't have my best interest. That's what they think. So that is one of the biggest points to try to establish that respect inside of a relationship as soon as possible. You know that your interests are totally on my side. And I want to also make sure that you can understand and respect my interests as well. And this is where my interests, maybe if I'm the person that wants to say break up with someone, that's the goal that I'm coming into this conversation with. That's the purpose that I'm coming into this conversation with. I want to still make sure that they feel respected. I want to still make sure that they can feel like their interests are still being heard. But also at the same time, maybe in this situation, right, their interests are not going to be, I guess, the best, right? It's not going to be going towards their interest truly because, well, you're breaking up. And their interests are to stay together. So then the question becomes, what do you need to say in order to make sure that their interests still becomes their interests? And it's not, you're changing the format of the interests that becomes a mutual goal. Does that make sense? So let's see. I want to get people talking here. I want to do an activity. Actually, we're not going to do a talking activity. Maybe we already did this. I wrote a. So we'll do this one instead, actually. But we'll talk about state first. We're gonna finish up talking about state, and then we're gonna do an activity to actually use this tool. Okay. So state is the thing that I was telling you about earlier, and I meant to write this all the way down here, but I'll write it like this instead. So state is going to be the tool that you're going to use inside of these conversations to remember how to make it constructive, to keep the respect, to keep the safety, to get their interests aligned, and to make sure that the goal is aligned as well and doesn't go off track. So this is a tool that I want you to remember. Okay, so state. Okay. State the facts. Tell your story. Ask for their view. It says talk tentatively. I don't know if you guys know what tentatively is. Huh? It just means to keep the dialogue open, and to just like don't make assumptions, basically. So, I want to say keep it open, and to have you guys to remember it. So we'll just say like talk openly, right? No assumption. And then encourage testing. And what I mean by encourage testing is for them to test your view. Okay, so allow them to challenge that their views, their story, their purpose or goal can still give a rebuttal. Okay? State the facts, tell your story, ask their view, talk openly, no assumptions, and encourage testing. So this is just something like, it's not like you're going to be in a conversation all of a sudden and be like, okay, state. And all of a sudden, okay, what is state? I forgot. It's just like, this is a skill. It's something that you're going to have to develop. And what I want to do is I want to just basically walk through this in just a mini format with just like with the group watching, so we can get an idea of what this actually is like. Okay, so we're going to start with, again, sharing the facts, telling your story, and then asking their view, talk openly, and encourage testing. So this is one of the ways that I wanted to just bring it up. I mean, it's something simple as just, talking about when someone is late to work, right? I'm the manager, and I have to tell one of you that you're being late to work. Who is often late to work? Who wants to be honest here? Anyone that's that? Yeah. Or late to my classes, huh? Yeah, that too as well. So the way that I would go about this first, right? So again, the first thing to do is to state the facts. Hey, Nikolai, I noticed that you haven't been. Oh, sorry, MJ, your brother. It's a,
Same.
it's a twin. Oh gosh, sorry. Okay, MJ. Just forget that I just said Nicola. That would have ruined the conversation from the start. Already no trust established. Because I don't even know who you and your brother are. Okay, let's start over. MJ, I noticed that you have not been showing up to work on time. Okay? There we go. Stating the facts. Telling my story. So, because you haven't been showing up on time, it's allowing us, it's inhibiting us to start meetings on time. And I feel like it's putting our work days onto a time constraint, right? They're telling my story, asking my view, or asking their view. Can you help me to understand where in your life, like what's going on in your life that's making you show up late? Can you help me to understand what's going on in your world? Right? And then you could give me a response, right? You could say, oh, this, like my kid is all of a sudden, he's throwing a tantrum every morning, whatever it is, right? It's just this example, correct? So then talking openly, making the assumption, okay, I don't think that there's actually, I don't want to assume anything, but I want to make sure that this is something that we could work on. And if you can actually show up to our team meetings or to work on time, maybe I'm just saying like team meetings, whatever the actual specific doesn't really matter. But do you guys see how I'm framing these sentences? Okay, that's the whole point of what I'm trying to convey. And then the encourage testing point is like, I'd like to see if there's anything that I can do to help. Is there something that you need me to do for you? Maybe we can get someone to help your child not throw tantrums before work. Do we need to talk? Can we give your wife a little break so she can, whatever it is, she can have more time for herself? Whatever it is. I need to ask for your help, and I need to ask for your engagement. Did you guys see how that worked?
Good job.
Okay. So that's basically how. Okay, good. We're good on time. So that's just basically how it works when we're talking about using the state format. I want to see if you guys can maybe do the same thing. If we can do, again, like a similar, it'll be like improv for sure. And it'll be kind of weird and awkward, but that's the point. We have to make it awkward and weird first so we can get good at it. We have to develop it as a skill where it becomes automatic. And I want the group to kind of give constructive feedback, right? Because we all have our same interests at heart here by all of us showing up. So who would like to engage in this? No, you said no.
Okay, I'll sign up.
I just want to see how you guys can also apply this. Okay? So you'll do it with me, I guess. I just did it to you, you can do it to me now. So we'll make it a different situation, right? Let's say I had an idea here. So, okay. Say that we're family members, right? I'm your brother. Now you can look at me as your twin brother. And I'm just being consistently criticizing of you. Right? I'm always telling you that you're wrong, like you're stupid, or like, there's something. I'm just always criticizing you, whatever it is. Maybe that's happened when you were younger as a brother as well, because I'm familiar with that. As I was doing that as an older brother. So, rock and roll.
So, I think you criticize me a lot. At one point that you actually, again, criticized me this morning that I was late. And then when you do it, you put lots of pressure to fix on me, which makes me feel uncomfortable. You know the story, right?
Yeah, these three are.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, I heard the story.
And then, what do you think about it?
How
How do you feel? Very good. Feel good? Feel bad?
Well, I don't care. You're just being annoying. Like, I don't care.
Annoying there. I mean,
I'm role playing, right?
and that's all we would say. Would you like to go talking about this? How that make you feel?
I think that question could be changed a little bit. That question of like, how does that make you feel, right? How do you? Does anyone have any ideas for him on how he could change that question and asking their view?
Something like, would you agree with my perspective or something like that?
I like that. I like where it's going.
Okay. Would you? I would add. Would you agree or disagree? And then I give him the option.
Okay. That's a fair point as well. It's like, hey, like, are you agreeing to this?
Because I give you the only one, and then if you disagree, then you get the request. But if you give both options, then why disagree?
So I'm gonna go back into role play then now. I noticed that I agree with you. I do notice myself criticizing you a lot, and sometimes it's like it's not your fault. It's just because other things are pissing me off. The trading market is not going my way.
Alright, I understand that. But maybe I can help you with that, and we can help you. We help each other understand both positions, and then maybe your bad impacts you, and then you start criticizing that perspective. Because you had a bad day, and then you feel like you want to pull someone down so you can feel that. Is that the thing?
Yeah, maybe we can go to the gym together. I would like that, and then I can take my aggression out.
Yeah. What would you really enjoy?
What, did you ask me a question?
What would you do in gym?
I do boxing. You want to box?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. That was
and then how would you encourage testing in this case?
so in this case where it's like encourage testing, because we're basically saying like, hey, like, can you see how my view is showing up? Like, is there anything that I can do for to make sure that you don't keep doing that to me? So encourage testing. Again, it's like testing your own view, right? So it's like, okay, maybe in this situation, I'm actually the only person that's doing the wrong, and you're not. Maybe there is something that you're doing. So that could be the encourage testing, right? Is the question of like, is there anything that I'm doing that's like creating this?
Yeah.
That's making you want to criticize me.
Yeah.
That's the encourage testing side.
Yeah. What makes you like criticizing like that?
Good question to ask. But I think that's like putting them on it, right? What makes you?
Yeah, but
So
also, I would also go a little bit back, because usually there's conversation that's not solved, so you put that pressure. In this case, could be something that we didn't talk about before, or something else. And then that always pulls up because, it's like in fight relationship, and you just constantly bringing something up, because it's actually something that you didn't solve before.
Yeah, that's where the contents of the story, like we were talking about before, the contents and the conditions, that's where the story starts to get intertwined. And then all of a sudden the pool of shared knowledge gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you have so much stuff to grab from, and it makes it really hard, because the way that it's like solved is where it starts to shrink and become something small, a problem that is easily solved. So that could be a completely different conversation. But you want to make sure that what this is resolved. So you, as the person who's conscious in this conversation, need to direct. Well, we're saying that you're the conscious one in this, right? We want you to direct this in a way that is towards your goals, towards your purpose, for one purpose. Maybe it's a purpose that aligns with a bunch of things, right? Because maybe there's another thing that I did as your brother that was completely unrelated but it still is invoking more criticism on you, right? Does that make sense? So I could have just not given you something, and I shared it with everyone else, but I didn't give it to you, and say it was like at a party, and I didn't give it to you. That could also create that, and that could have been a situation that you noticed, and maybe I did it purposely, or maybe I didn't do it purposely, but that could have been brought up, and it because then thinks that again, I as your brother am criticizing you for something, and I don't like what you're doing, right? So this is important to realize that these situations can be involved, but where do you want to go with this conversation? Be very intentional and have a specific focus for where this is actually going. I want us to resolve this conflict. I want us to resolve this conflict, and this one, and this one, and this one. Last week we talked about saying no. That was a really, I loved the conversation that we had. It was very open, and everyone was talking about that. The little things that go on inside of these conversations that really make us feel like we can't say no. Maybe it has to do with self-worth and all these things that even starting the conversation and validating ourselves inside of these and people pleasing, right? And these are just like little things that have to do with these conversations that is within us that we can have the power over. But as soon as someone is direct or really just bold with their comments, all of a sudden, then it may influence the way that we feel. And I don't want to feel like crap because you told me something. I want to feel like I can take it. I can actually take it and feel strong in that situation, and not feel like I'm like a bleeding tower of pizza, and all you have to do is just flick me, and I get tossed over. I said pizza, I meant pizza. But so you get what we're talking about, right? So I really crucial conversations is a really hard thing because when we look at this, it's easy to talk about this now. And when we actually go into this conversation, that's where it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Because what we don't have here in this situation is emotionally charged conversations. So this is also, again, it does have to do with self-regulation, right? But also emotional regulation. How do you manage your emotions, and how can you see and recognize what's showing up? Has anyone felt like that their emotions have just run wild in a conversation before? Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? What times have you been able to? Has there been any time that you actually were able to stop yourself and not like get super emotional? I want to see if there's any tools that you would like to share with the group about this. Yeah.
Just at 8, 9, half an hour for myself.
Mm-hmm. That's really good. Did you say something?
No, the confirm with taking the break.
Yeah.
I would like to share something. So one time I was in Egypt and there was an Egyptian man who started really shouting at me when I was like on the top of the cliff where there was some Tom who was extremely aggressive. And I know it was Ramadan. Usually I would just start shouting at him like fuck off, because he was really very, very aggressive and like trying to like ask me for money and all these things. But in my head, I just said myself, no, I'm not going to reply the same way what he's doing, which was extremely difficult. Like I love Egypt, but I've been there already 6 months. I had like few this kind of experiences. I was really on the edge. But this decision made in my head, and I could feel like his anger, because you can feel when somebody is really angry, you can feel it in your body. So your natural way of doing it is just do the same thing. But because it was Ramadan, I was like, I'm not gonna reply the same way. And And the man was keeping going and keeping going. And I thought, no, I'll just be nice. And I just started singing a song.
Oh wow.
It was really weird. I was really like shaken inside.
Yeah.
And in another language she couldn't understand, but like just saying, okay, you just calm down. And I don't know how to sing. So suddenly he was like, what's going on? And eventually, like, he left, and then I also left, and so it was kind of something wasn't really solved. But I thought that sometimes it's, and I remember I was feeling really exhausted, but I felt like I was thinking about this: was it the right thing to do, or was it the wrong thing to do? Because at the end, you feel the energy of the other person, right? So
Yeah.
you have to then clean up this energy because you didn't clean up by replying some way. But why I wanted to share it today, because I think that sometimes it is just about making decision and seeing this person and like, no, I'm not gonna take it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to behave the same way. But
Yeah.
again, this was a bit extreme. I don't know if you can sing with your boss or something.
Yeah.
But they learned me the lesson on that day that I can just be within myself and I can have my morals and I can just stick to my rules no matter what people coming around with, even if it's extremely hard.
Mm-hmm.
What was the song?
No, I just started like singing in Spanish, like the way like como que te calmas el hombre. So like singing to him, please calm down. And yeah.
Great, I love that.
So
Why was he shouting? What was the reason?
I think there is a lot of anger in some people and frustration, especially in a country like Egypt where people are extremely poor.
Mhm.
And he was just trying to get some money out of me. And I know that like I'm just there on the cliff and I'm not supposed to pay for being on the cliff and watching the river, yes. So, but I don't think it has anything to do with me. I think this man is just an angry man. Anybody he sees, he will do it. And I do believe it has to do with the system that keeps a lot of nationalities in the poverty and people have no opportunities. So it's a big frustration, I know, because I also grown up in this survival mode in the country that was extremely poor. So I think you cannot, I'm not explaining this, but many times people say bad things about Egypt without understanding that like the salary there is $50 a month. And then you see these wealthy tourists coming in the hotels and they don't want to give you a tip, which is like, I don't know how to euro, yeah? So you are angry. No, anyway.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. So great.
Yeah.
The thing that I took away from that, and actually it reminded me of something that the Buddha once said, was talking about when this really, really angry man came to test the Buddha. Maybe some of you have heard this before. And this angry man just came up to the Buddha, was yelling at him, shouting at him, calling him these slurs, these slangs, and criticizing him, all these things. And the Buddha just stops and just not fazed at all by anything that this person is telling him. And the Buddha then goes, when someone comes up to you for, say, Christmas, whatever, we'll just say Christmas because this is something that we all understand, right? And someone wants to give you a gift for Christmas. Do you have to accept this gift? No, not necessarily. I can deny the gift that you're wanting to give me. And the same thing goes for here. Your gift of anger and criticizing. It's a gift that I'm not going to receive. I don't need to take it. And it's exactly like you said, you didn't take that anger that he had and you just realize, okay, I don't want to respond the same way that he did, right? I want to respond in the way that is for me. That's a really, really powerful thing. Really, really amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
But can I just add something to this?
Please.
I think, I don't know. because when people come with this, you're gonna feel their emotions anyway. So it's like if I'm angry or I'm sad, you're gonna feel it. So like I know you mentioned in the beginning of the class that just a perception,
Right.
but I also believe that like if somebody is really angry, this will influence your energy field, you want it or not. If it's like somebody joyful and happy, it will influence your energy field, or whether you believe it or not.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so my only thing is that I think for all of us, it's or at least I see from my perspective, it's important when, because sometimes maybe I'm angry and I'm bringing this energy to somebody. So just to understand if somebody comes with this energy, because it's not like I walk away from that man and I was like peaceful. No, it took me a while, like to clear it out and like to send love to this man.
Yeah.
So even anytime when I get angry and somebody is like a bit this way, I'm trying like, oh, okay, I do feel this energy is passing through me. So I'm not sure if it's gonna happen with any of you, but I just wanted to say if you are maybe in a situation with somebody and you can feel this weird energy and you don't know anymore if it's your emotions or this person's emotion, maybe just understand that, oh, you can feel this person's emotion and maybe it's gonna take you a little time. Maybe not. Maybe it's only happening to me. Like to go back to yourself and to be peaceful within. Like I don't know. Did you say that you left the work at the end, or was it somebody else? Yeah. So I'm sure you must have also feel like the emotion that this girl had. Maybe if she was angry or something. I don't know. Like it's really difficult. I just wanted to mention that. Yeah, it's like our perception, but sometimes we can also feel.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I know what you're saying as well. I saw a video of this like little girl running, like it was just a camera recording. I don't know, maybe you've seen it online. And it's like this little girl, she's like skipping and jumping, and this guy's just like walking like right in front of her, and he's just like slouched. He's like, walking back from work or something, and this girl just passes him with this energy, right? Oh, skipping, jumping, and then as soon as he starts to skip and jump as well. He's like, he starts skipping because the energy. I totally, like, I feel it as well, especially when inside of conversations, it's even more transferred and it's like felt because words have emotion. But this is like also a thing. Like, I mean, even we can talk about the Buddha in this situation, and we can say, this is something that a really enlightened person can do, right? Because their energy is not really wavered by other people, right? Their emotions are not wavered by other people. They can control their emotions. This is a skill one of the most challenging skills. Every time I pass by the police, I feel the emotion just shows up because I have like PTSD from when I got arrested before in my life. And so now every time I see the police cars, and I know I'm driving illegally here, because I don't have an international license, but I just get like my heart drops. And so this is something to work on. And I'm just like, the biggest key factor inside of regulating emotions is the breath. That's something where we can all control, because if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling upset, if you're feeling worried, if you're feeling anxious, your breath is going to be associated and it's going to breathe different patterns based on what you're currently feeling at that time. We talked about this a few weeks ago when we talked about the state of being. And the state of being, your body is going to show you how you feel. And so every single time, I don't know, were you there for that one?
For the being?
No, because basically if you were to smile at the ceiling and show a big grin at the ceiling and try to get depressed, it's impossible. You can't get depressed just like literally like looking up at the ceiling. Your face doesn't say it. Your smiling doesn't say it. Your body like your trunk doesn't say it because it's straight. Your body is always fully in control of how you feel. It's a big factor to how you feel and what your emotions are telling you. And that's why that was that first practice of looking at the little nonverbal cues. Because inside of these conversations, it's very important to understand how the other person feels. And us as a little bit more conscious person being in this class, we're becoming more conscious about this. We can understand what others are feeling. And we can also, sometimes they don't want to, or they don't even have the awareness to even talk about what they're feeling, the other person, because maybe they're just unaware to that. But you can see it on their body. And that's also a skill to understand how to approach the situation when they are not actually able to change their state into a better emotion to manage this conversation with. So that's something that you as a conscious person need to be aware of. Okay, this person's feeling this way, and they haven't told me that. Again, another part of it is not taking assumptions, right? So I'm not going to assume they're feeling this way as well. You can invite their opinion, right? That's why we ask for their view. How does this make you feel? It's a great way to open that up for dialogue. And then we're seeing, okay, maybe they want to say what they want to feel, what they're feeling. Maybe they don't. It depends on the person, because, again, what's the safety inside of this conversation? Do they think that when they're open and vulnerable with you, that you're going to respect them with their interest of being super honest with you? So, again, you must navigate. It's a tricky thing. It's really sometimes it's tricky, especially with someone that is not super aware of what's going on within them.
But sometimes I feel that we also bring the previous experience. For example, if someone brought certain conversation, and it was not a very conscious conversation, then I have this feeling, and when someone would try to approach me in a more safe way, I would be immediately wait, it's gonna end up the same, and I will be immediately going into protection, so that other person needs to go even more deep in all this state to ensure that it's not the same ending or it's not the same situation, which makes it even more difficult.
Mm-hmm. Because this is what's called an anchor.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about this situation where he had this breakup before, right? What is the thing that we all hear right before a breakup? What is that? What we need to talk. That's what we call an anchor.
Let's have a moment.
Huh?
Let's have a moment.
Let's have a moment together. That's a good way to break that pattern. So, what I mean by an anchor, in this case, there's 3 ways you can have an anchor: an auditory, a kinesthetic, or a visual. Okay? In this case, it's an auditory, something that you're hearing. This is an anchor that you're hearing. And there's so many of these that we have within our bodies, in our systems, that we must recognize where these anchors are showing up. So as soon as someone says we need to talk, this could be an anchor that says, oh, yeah, this is going to be bad. And so, like you were just talking about, you jump into that situation again and oh, I'm going to close myself off. It's going to show up the same way again. It's an automatic thing, because that's what an anchor does. It's an association that we have to a certain feeling, a touch, something that we see, or something that we hear. These are the 3 ones. And there's also smell, which is the strongest.
But how to overcome is, for example, I'm the person who I notice I have this anchor when someone is talking. So how should because I immediately react, but I need to put in my mind that, okay, maybe it's not the same, but there is this feeling inside. So how to overcome that and be open and different, talking with different person that open to different conclusions.
So there is a trick to be able to do this. This is inside of neuro-linguistic programming, and this is going to take some work on your end, right? So the idea is to use your body for these kinds of cases. And oh my gosh, I'm getting kind of cramps. But so let's use this as an example. So you're going to this is kind of the steps to kind of break it down for you. When we have these types of situations, these anchors that we don't really like. Okay, so the one that we are talking about now is we need to talk. What you're going to do is you're going to think about this situation. and bring up those emotions again. Think about it like you're basically meditating on this, right? And once you have that peak state of emotion, you press a certain place on your body. And this is creating now a kinesthetic anchor. So you repeat this over and over and over and over again. Repeat this over and over and over again. So that way you create this kind of anchor. It's the same anchor, not hearing, but touching. Okay? So after you touch it, right? This is this anchor. So as soon as you touch it again, you are going to get into that feeling. Now the way to break it is to have an opposite anchor to balance it. So what you do is after this one has showed up, you now need to create an anchor that is strong, that is powerful, that is high energy, high positivity. Your best feelings that you would possibly imagine. And you get into that state. You can think about the past memories that you've had. You can think about any of the situations that were in your life that were just amazing. You think back to these. Anytime this also happening presently, you think about it. And as soon as you get, again, that peak state, the climax of where it could possibly be, you're pressing on the other side, pressing on the other side, pressing on the other side. And then you get to press both of them down. Once this is strong enough to be able to combat this, and then you will slowly start to realize when you are getting both of them, your body doesn't know what to do because it's activated on both of them. And so it fizzes itself out. This is a thing inside of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And this is having to do with anchors.
Can you like recommend a book on this? Neuro-linguistic.
Well, there are so many. It's like programming NLP. Too big to handle.
Yep.
Too big.
So you like what's the feeling?
It's basically you're confusing yourself. You're confusing your feelings by putting both of these situations into your body, where all of a sudden your body doesn't know what to do. Is it going to feel this way? Is it going to feel this way? And so it just neutralizes.
So that's like someone says to me, so my body will be just neutral, or
It will start to phase out as you build that strength
So
up.
do this.
No, you can put it anywhere. It can be anywhere on your body.
So if I understand correctly, the touch is like a trigger to tell your mind to take a step back, detach yourself for a moment.
It's not
Look
that's
objectively.
it could be that, but what it mostly is doing is creating a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's anytime you have a feeling of something that you actually feel on your body, anytime you hear something or you smell something or you see something, these are what is called anchors.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's going to create a feeling. It's not going to take you out, but this could be an anchor as well, where all of a sudden there could be an anchor where it takes you out. Right? It makes you cautious. You can create an anchor like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about how can you frame the anchor? How can you create that anchor to be like that? And in this case, after you have these anchors, once you can actually create a really, really strong anchor, I have one where I go like this, and all of a sudden I just feel amazing. And billions of nerves just start to get activated and are just super powerful. And it can override any of the feelings that I've had. Some of my friends, I actually just had a podcast with someone that will be posted next this Thursday. And I just had a whole conversation about NLP with him and how anchors are created and all this stuff. So you can listen to that. We talked about this, and he has one where he like presses his fingers because he was in a conversation with his girlfriend, and he realized that this conversation was not going the right way. And, you know, they were about to break up, and he activated his anchor. Boom. He was able to solve the situation and get himself out of this feeling like bad. And wow, he completely changed the conversation in the whole relationship because he was able to remember that he had this anchor, this little tool to jump into a new situation, a new feeling, and to not be constricted by the feelings of your bad emotions. We want to be managing our emotions and not make decisions and respond and react inside of these emotions that are feeling, you know, the negative ones, right? The disempowering ones. We want to be able to find ways to be activated, powerful, high energy when we're making decisions inside of conversations. I totally also agree with the fact that we need to be able to understand these at certain times and be able to like meditate on them and like, where is it coming from, all that inner child work, right? But when we're making decisions, when we're having conversations, very, 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 very important that you don't come at the conversation from a negative point, because it's only, like we're talking about, it's going to give them those energies as well. You can also influence someone's state because you're in a good state. Depends on which one is more powerful. So we have 3 minutes. I have a lot of stuff that we just threw at you today. I'll give you 2 journal prompts to go home with. What's one crucial conversation you've been avoiding? And then, what's stopping you from having that conversation? Fear, uncertainty, lack of confidence, etc. Yeah. So, you guys can take a photo of this, whatever you would like to do.
I have two quick things to say.
Yeah, we have a minute or so, yeah.
So, another thing that you can do for whatever situations like this is like state of presence. The book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Paying attention to your breath and to your sensations in your body. So like when somebody's screaming, snapping, whatever, just like take yourself away and pay attention to your own body internally. And that can help you stay present and stay centered, stay peaceful, not react and not take in on their emotion. And another thing that I've heard kind of maybe related to your situation, I have a friend who went around doing free hugs. He like with a sign standing in public doing free hugs at a stadium, and the security like just snapped because they were like used to already like on edge, and so they were like snapping at him, and he went just like, "Why are you so mean?" And like immediately broke the pattern of like, and they stopped being angry immediately. I'm like, no, because they were in the state dealing with the drunks and with the people who are fighting over their teams, whatever. He's just doing free hugs, and so he said, "Why are you so mean?" Tone of voice,
breaking the pattern,
expression, totally broke their pattern. Yeah. Like, no, sorry, we didn't mean to us, and they just like started apologizing and very nice.
What's the name of the book?
The name of the book was The Power of Now, but these are 2 unrelated things. I just went over them really quickly.
Yeah, it's a book about the power of now with Presence, Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
And then there's also Breaking the Pattern. That's having to do with a different sort of thing, where you're inside of conversations and feelings.
Have you heard of the David policy?
No.
Yeah, you have stories of the book related to how about the consciousness. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here today. Really hope you got something out of it. Took a lot of notes. It's a little bit different for me. I usually like more engagement, but I also think that this was a great topic for me to just talk on because it's a lot of framing and how to actually work with it. So please come next week. We don't know what the topic is yet, but I can invite you to the WhatsApp group and we'll be able to you'll be able to choose what the topic is for next week and the weeks after, depending on how long you're staying here. But please leave your donation next to the Buddha, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.